Getting some hail popping down from these thunderheads, and it's kind of funny because it looks like the chickens are actually chasing the hailstones and grabbing them. Go this way. It's not a huge hail downpour. There we go. These guys are all, we're out of it. Not interested, huh? You guys are more than happy just to stay underneath the protection. You guys all under here? Nope, a couple of your sisters are out there going crazy. How about you, big girls? What are you doing? Did have a break in the weather today, though. Had some blue sky popping through. These are just some thunderheads making their way through. First real thunder I've heard all year this year. That is just very cool and ominous looking, huh? Oh, good morning. Well, at least it's not raining today. Yet, knock on wood. Waiting for a lumber delivery from Home Depot. And it's a sheathing for the walls. And I don't know if I got enough. I calculated it out. I'm pretty sure I got enough. I might not have enough to do the peaks on the roof part. You know, where the roof comes down like this, and then you have, well, roof comes down like that on top of the walls, and you have this section to fill. I don't know if I calculated enough for that, but that's okay. I can always go pick a couple of sheets up to get that finished. Can't believe I'm sitting here talking about a roof while I'm drinking coffee. Oh my gosh. Rain has been ridiculous. Just demoralizing. But it's letting me see if I have any problem spots on the ground below the cabin. And I don't. I don't really have a spot where it won't drain, which is awesome. First cup of coffee of the day. I'm going to grill some chicken tonight on the old Weber for dinner after I get done framing the last section of wall, which I am going to do today. I also think I'm going to move this canopy, which will raise up quite a bit more, over to the edge of the cabin, which will give me a spot to keep everything dry so that I can continue to work in the rain. I'm almost to the part now where I'm not going to be, you know, that's not going to be as big of an issue, but I want to get it out of the front here so I can get some stuff cleaned up and utilize the driveway a little bit better, the parking area. Oh my goodness. It's kind of a pretty morning. And the only reason why I'm sitting under the canopy right now is because that's where the chair was. All right, Orange Store, you sent me 3 messages saying you're on your way. Get here with the sheathing. I got a spot laid out for it and everything already. He's going to go grab his phone and take a picture. I guess I got to verify that everything was delivered properly. Threw it up on logs to try and keep it up out of the water. because we've been having so much rain and because of what happened to the last OSB. This is 1/2 inch OSB, it's 30 sheets. I had a couple of sheets that pretty much got soaked through. We could still use them, but I just want to make sure they're more protected this time, and I'll get a tarp over that today as well. Oh, awesome. All right, I got to line this last front section of wall that I made. I got to line it up so that I can get my measurement on my last 2 top and bottom plates, and then other than that, everything else is the same. I'm still going to need, what was it, 20 total, so I'm going to need 10 more cut to 9 foot 7.5 inches, and then all the little trimmers and headers and everything else that I'm going to need for the window. So the window is going to go in here, and we're going to figure out where that's going to go together. But while I have a break in the weather, and if it starts raining, I'm not going to stop because I need to get this done. I am going to get busy on this. Nice. Get up there. Get up. There we go. This is 10 feet on the nose. I just checked it from both directions. So 10 feet, 10 feet, on the top and bottom plate, and that will take me right to the edges. Although it doesn't really matter on the top as much, because if I'm 10 feet and 10 feet, that's where I need to be, because that's my measurement down here. And then, so these are 2x6s, which means that they're only going to go 5.5 inches. Hold it in here. So I'm going to lose 11 inches, or almost a foot, inside the cabin from the end walls and from the side walls. So that's going to reduce the footprint from 20 to 24 to 19 by 23 inside, just because of the thickness of the walls. But I need the 2x6 thickness so that I can get the proper insulation in there for my climate in my area. I'm going to measure these off. I've got two 10-footers, and then I've got, what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and the lay down corner 10, 9 foot, 7¼ inches. Where'd I put it? I talked about this in the last video. Why did I measure that one on that end and this one on this end? It's because on the end of this board, got a little nick, chip that, you know, I'll cut most of that off. All right, I need, what did I say? I need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 1 is 10 to get the same pattern and same size one going on. So I'm going to go get those. Cool. So one of the neat things too about doing it the way that I'm doing it, I think, and this is coming from a guy who's never built anything before like this, is that when I lay this out, I get to decide exactly where the window's going to go. But, you know, there's like formulas, I guess, in construction for where the bottom of a window should be and the top of a window should be. And, you know, what I'm actually going to get to do is I'm actually going to get to decide how high up my window goes, and I'm going to get to decide on how high up the bottom of the window is. So it'll probably break all of those rules. My goal is I want to be able to stand in front of my window like this. So I'm going to want my window about this height, probably the top of the window about 6 feet. So I want to just be able to stand in front of the window like this, and I want to be able to look out and have an unobstructed view. So we'll see where that plays out, but the first thing I think I should probably do is go over and measure the window so I get an exact measurement of what I'm looking at. So let's go ahead and do that right now. So I'm not going to lie here, I stole these windows for the price that I paid for them. So for the two big ones, the two long ones, and the one that I'm going to end up putting in the kitchen, I ended up paying $200 for all of them. These big ones, all I have to do is make sure that they're oriented like this. And that's going to be 54¼ Let's do it this way. Mosquitoes are everywhere. 54¼ that way, and 61 7/8 that way. And I made sure to measure at the furthest point, because on the trim box here I do have a little offset on this back one. I just noticed it today, which is no biggie. It's not going to make any difference. But these are fully encased, ready to go. You just take them and plug them right in there. And I could paint the trim to do whatever I want on the outside of them. But my main concern was I wanted big windows, but I also wanted windows that I could open to get ventilation. So while this half of the window is a fixed piece of glass, right, from here over on both of these bottom windows is a window that cranks open so that you can have that cross ventilation. I think it's going to be beautiful when it's done. So I've already marked this off, but didn't have the camera going when I did it. And I wanted to show you something real quick here. Two things actually. So everything that I'm doing is in 16 inches on center, right? Well, when you get to the 16 inch on center, it's in red as opposed to all the other numbers. So every time you hit a 16, it's red. It's red. It's red. And that just makes it easier to spot. The other thing is that if I measure between, let me show you, I'll make sure the camera's in frame. So if I measure from the outside of this one to the outside of this one, it should be 16 inches, right? There's my 16 inches, and that is the outside of this stud here. So now if I just come here and I measure 16 inches on the line every time, then I know that my stud just has to be on this side of the line, and it will be middle to middle, 16 inches on center. And that was one of the problems I think I had underneath trying to line up my on-centers, was I got out of the layout. So what I did on that back wall was made sure that I measured it the same way I'm measuring it here. Now that's going to mean that I'm going to have a board here because it's the end of, and the next board right here, but that's okay, that doesn't really matter. And then I'm gonna have that California corner, obviously, all the way over on the other side so that I've got the inside corner to nail off on. But I found that that works pretty well. And then I also, let me flip this down. Just for my own sanity, I'm still marking the lines here, and I'm still marking the X's for which side the board goes on, because when I get busy I kind of lose track of what I'm doing, and if the phone rings or somebody calls or somebody stops by, I need to remember where I was when I started. So let's go ahead and get this one lined out, and I'll show you one other thing real quick before I get to there on my thoughts on the window. By the time you see this, it'll be too late, but I'm curious if you think this was a good thought. So if this is the floor of my cabin, right? I'm thinking that I don't want my window starting, the base of my window, less than 2 feet. Because that saves a whole bunch of junk of getting in your window. And that's going to put my height of my window in that wall at roughly there, which is just shy of 7 feet tall. So you won't be able to see all of me, my legs will be cut off in the bottom, but I think that that's a good height to come off the ground. So I'm gonna, on these big windows here, on this one and the one that's gonna be in the other corner, my baseline for that window is gonna be 2 feet, and that's gonna be 2 feet off the floor. And that was a problem I had when I was doing the door too, was I couldn't grasp in my head that it was off the floor and not off the bottom plate of the wall. So we're gonna go 2 feet off the floor, start the window, and work our way up to get the final measurements on that. 61 7/8 is right here. And I'm going to go ahead and call that good. So since we're going to have a stud here, and then I'm going to nail the cripple or whatever it's called, the bottom stud that holds the window in place, up here, 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 and here, I think we'll be fine. And it's only given me maybe 1/4 of an inch all the way around, or from side to side, but I think the bigger issue would be top to bottom, making sure I've got that 1/2 inch. So I'm gonna go with it right where it's at here. So by doing that, I'm gonna lose, like I said, 1, 2, 3, 3 studs on the inside, and that's what all that other stuff is that I did on the door over there. So that's where the cripple comes into play. That's where because the cripple runs all the way up to hold the header in place. I'm gonna be wrong here. I'm gonna go up to hold the header in place. Won't work, won't fit. So I'm gonna have to move it over. I need 1.5 inches from 61 7/8. So I need 1.5 inches from there. So if I were to take that's going to put my center right here. My 16 inches on center is going to be that one. And it doesn't make any difference if I go that way or if I go this way when I move this. Math. Nobody told me there was going to be math in this when I did it. I think I can make that work though. So 61 right there. 61 7/8 puts this. Well, yeah, I'm going to go further than that. All right, I got to calculate this out. I got to figure this out. Hopefully that's not picking up too much in the generator. All right, so first of all, before I even continue with the window, shout out to houseimprovements.com and Shannon. Everything I think I've done as far as framing goes, I've learned on that website. And I've watched their framing windows and doors video like 5 times. I literally just stopped, walked back in the house and watched it again. And I am overthinking this. And I'm going to tell you why I'm overthinking this while looking at this. If I have a window in here, it does not matter where my studs are lined up at here. You know, I have my regular wall studs 16 inches on center. But if I have to remove an extra stud, I have to remove an extra stud. I just put one back in. That's not a big deal. So I will have a stud. I will have a trimmer next to that stud that will hold the header up, right? And then when I frame the small cripples on the top of the header and the cripples below the window, I frame them where the studs would be. So that was where I was getting very confused of where my line was laying up over there. I could put that window anywhere that I want. So I'm going to go ahead and frame that out. Then I have to calculate some measurements for how tall my cripples have to be. I won't measure the cripples on the top until after I get everything kind of boxed in and framed in for where it's supposed to be, to make sure that I got it right. I do want a 1/2 inch all the way around, so from side to side I'm adding an inch, from top to bottom I'm going to add an inch, and you know, a lot better. But again, if you were going to try something like this at home, and you're watching a YouTube video right now about this idiot in Alaska doing it, do yourself a favor and do some more research. Down below in the description box, I'll have a link to Shannon's channel, houseimprovements.com, and he's got a great forum as well. So if you're going to ask any questions, you know, for example, why did I go with 10-foot walls instead of 8-foot walls? I wanted to have a little extra room in the loft, and my first thought was I would just build 8-foot walls and pony walls on top. But after talking to Shannon in the forum, and you'll have to check out the forum, you'll have to search for the forum yourself, I won't remember to put it below. He said, dude, just do a 10-foot wall and then you don't have to deal with pony walls. So houseimprovements.com, House Improvements website, or the link for their YouTube channel's down below, ton of answers. Their forum is incredible. Shannon answers a lot of the questions himself right on there. He's a contractor from Canada, and I've learned so much from you. Thanks, dude. Let me get back to this window. I pulled the camera down for this one. So 62 7/8 is going to take me to right here. Okay? So that means that has to be where my trimmer is. Stand right your way here. So that is going to be the outside of my trimmer, and then I'm going to have a stud that goes all the way up here as well. One of the things I should have done, and again, I'm not a contractor, so I don't think this way, is I could have laid all of this out completely on my top and bottom plate when I was making all my measurements and my marks. But again, I wanted to see it visually before I did it. It's cost me a headache. So, by doing it this way, I still use all my other measurements that I have. Let me spin this camera out. So by doing it this way, I still use all the other measurements that I have, right? So here was going to be a stud, here was going to be a stud, here was going to be a stud. But these studs are gone because they now become cripples underneath the window. And they'll become cripples above the header up there as well. So, I need to take this one out. And like I said, I'll be able to use it again. It's not a big deal. This one out. And this one. Because again, the window will be in there. And it's a big window. And that 61 7/8 should be 62 7/8 from trimmer to trimmer. And again, the job of the trimmer is to hold the header on, hold the header up, and then the first of the cripples on the bottom will hold the window in place. 62 and 7/8. You can get a little bit better than that, buddy. .62 and 7/8. To that line. Perfect. Okay. I also need to measure where the top of the window is going to be, and I know that because I know how big the window is and I know how tall it is going to be sitting above the floor. I also need to make a piece that the window is going to sit on, and that one will sit on top of the first cripple and run to the second cripple. So that measurement will be, well, basically, inch and a half, inch and a half. That measurement will be the ½ inch bigger than the 61 and 7/8. It'll be 62 and 7/8. And that will sit on top of here, and it'll go from here to the exact opposite one over here. But these will go to the height of the window, plus an inch. And then the cripples will all go in the location that the studs would have gone. So let me do the math on that. Okay, I think I have all the pieces of this jigsaw puzzle cut and ready to go. So let's see what we can see. So I decided that this was going to be where the window started. So I need this. Followed by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah. This. And I need to do that multiple times. So that there, that there, that there, that there, and then one more down on the end. Then, this piece should be the base of the window. Followed by a header. Right, there's actually going to be at least 2, possibly 3 on this one. I might do 2 because after watching Shannon at House Improvements, I liked, no, I'll lay all 3 here. I like the idea of putting a couple of boards on the inside and then using 2, having 1 on this even with this one and 1 even with the bottom one, and then insulating between the 2, getting a little bit of extra insulation. All right. There. And then this gap, I gambled and tried math. So let's see if math worked. Did math work? Math pretty much worked that time. I might have to trim a little off of that. Oh no, because that's not all the way down. Okay. And I did these out of a lot of the scrap from cutting the other ones. I don't know if I need all these or not. All right, now we need to see, bring that up here with me, sitting over there. .62 and 7/8. Normally I want 61 and 7/8 because of the whole extra ½ inch all the way around. Where did I put the other notepad / cutting list? .56½. Okay, before I get any further here, I need to find that list so I know exactly what my other dimension is this way. To make sure I have everything cut the right distance that it needs to be cut. Hopefully I do, because if I don't, I'm going to be frustrated to no end. All right, what my final solution was to trim these two boards by 1.5 inches, which would drop the header down 1.5 inches, and then flip a board up on its end like this, like I did above the door, even though I don't really need to have that above the door, but that way I didn't have to recut a whole bunch of lumber. All I had to cut was 2 pieces of wood. And then I ended up with, it was 54 1/4, so it should be 55 1/4 for the gap. And I am at 55 1/4 on the nose. So we got the extra ½ inch all the way around. I'm going to nail this thing off now. This has been a frustrating project. And I get to do this whole exact thing over here because the other window's going over there. So it'll be interesting, it'll be fun, but it won't be as hard next time because I'll actually have all these other pieces measured out and I can just take my measurements right off of them because I'll be duplicating everything, the height and all. And that puts me back at the 24-inch height off the floor for the bottom of the window. And it gets rid of those plates that were down here of scrap wood. And the reason why I wanted to get rid of those was because you got to nail this down into there, and I didn't want to nail it down into there and then have to finish building the bottom of this. We get it all done in one shot this way. And that extra piece that I used there was one of the headers that I'd cut. I'm only going to need 2 headers anyway, and then in the middle of the two, let's see what the difference is here. Yeah, see, it's 2.5 inches, so I could actually just take a couple of 2x4 pieces, wedge them in there between the two 2x6s header that I'm making, and nail them in and be absolutely fine and give me plenty of room to insulate the header on this one. And I could do the same thing on the other one, even though I have 3 plates cut over there too. Frustrating. Oh, I think it's Graham from Woodness Goodness that calls himself a semi-professional amateur. And I should probably call myself a semi-amateur amateur. Let's nail this off.